There is a nice, easy technique you can use to position yourself in your market as an expert, as someone who just knows what they're talking about, and also helps associate your brand and your industry with your name. If you do this, you'll also get a really good byproduct, which I think is brilliant for content creation. So I'm just going to run through it with you. So the first thing you are going to need to do is find a Facebook group that you are active in. There's a little bit of criteria I'm going to go through with you next, but essentially you are going to post in that group and say, how can I help you? So this was the one I posted a few days ago. It's really important that this is not a pitch. This is not about getting more clients or getting bookings or selling anything. So it's really important that you add the pitch free part in. It is just about helping people out and being really specific about what you're helping them with. So in my post, I said content or social media strategy because that's what I'm known for at the moment. I also do organization, but for this post, I wanted it to be about the content. Really simple. So onto the prerequisites of what you need to be looking for. The group has to be a fair size. Not everybody's going to see it. Not everyone's going to need your help. Some people will be suspicious that you're still going to try and sell to them. So you need it to be of a fair size and an active group. It's really important. You need it to overlap your industry in some respects. So you need to find a group which your question, the thing you can help with, is going to be applicable to those people. But, and really importantly, you cannot compete or sell the same as the owner of the group. They are working really hard to build that group. This is not about poaching other people into another group. It's not about selling them a product which they can get from the owners of that group. It just has to overlap somehow. So this particular group, they do offer a membership. I closed my membership down. I don't offer that anymore. For me, my focus at the moment is my micro agency. So I don't overlap with what they sell. And that's really important when you're choosing places to network on Facebook. You're not trying to get members off that group. It's not about moving them from one place to another. It's not about getting them in your funnel. The goal here, if I can move my face out the way, the goal here is showing you are a thought leader, an industry expert in your field, that you know what you're talking about, and getting people to know that when they need to recommend someone that does what you do, it's your name that they recommend first, not someone else's. It's linking your name with your field. That's what this is about. So I did that, and then I had some responses which were great. I've blurred them out because this was a private Facebook group. So the people that comment here, they're not public comments, they're within a group. So I'm not sharing those with you, but just so you can see that for each and every person that commented, I gave them a detailed reply. I'm not talking like essays, but I made sure I gave some value in each of the answers that I gave. Okay, this is just about connections. This is just about helping and serving people, answering those questions. But the next step, which is really important, and now is not to do with your expert positioning with those people, but it's about using their questions to create content so that you're answering those questions for your wider audience. So all I do is I copy their question and I copy my reply. So I go to my calendar. My calendar is great because I have it all. It is an actual calendar. I use Notion for this. It's fantastic. But the great thing about it is I can also have it viewed as a Kanban board. So each topic. And I'm not going to scroll across too much because obviously there are their questions there, but I have a separate board just for these particular questions because I know they're recent and I know they're the ones that I want to get into my social media posts first. So just using this as an example to show you the process. So I copy their question into the top of the card just for ease. It makes it quick. And then I copy my answer at the bottom. And what this looks like in practice is I create new, I copy their question, and that creates my card or like my web page. And then I have, because it's Notion, my templates at the bottom, which brings me up my list of my social channels or places that I'm posting to. And then I copy their reply. And then when it comes to actually posting and putting it in my calendar, I can simply add a publish date. So let's do Sunday the 16th. I'm going to add that in. So now when I go back to my calendar, if we look down to Sunday the 16th, it's there. So I now know that's ready for publishing. And when it just comes to editing it, very simply, I move their question down to above this. And then, depending on what their question was, I title it so that I'm more likely to find it again. So it might be how to create better content. And that's what I'll title it as. Now, this is really important. When it comes to their question, you need to rephrase it. Those words that you copied over were theirs. In a private Facebook group, you can't use them. So you will restructure their question. That's really important. You might put it in your caption, you might put it into an infographic or into a photograph, however you want to present it. You might just put it at the very start of your caption as, do you wonder how to create better content? This is what I would do. And then because you've copied your reply over, you've got copy to start with. You can then expand on it, edit it, finesse it, leave it as it is. And that gives you then the content for your post. And you've got a nice, easy title so you can find it. And then how I have this set up is that once I've posted somewhere, I click where it's posted. When it's all published everywhere, I can hit publish. If I have attachments just for images or things that I want to keep at the top, I do. Quite often, because I use different images for different platforms, I might put the main image here under my attachments, and then for each of the platforms underneath, I'll add the images here, because you can add an image and you would click add an image and that will add it in there for you. And because it's Notion, it builds like a web page, so it's really simple. And then using all of that question and copy you just created, you can then optimize it for each platform. So for Twitter, you might decide to just use a graphic with a few hashtags. For LinkedIn, you may do something a bit more formal, a bit more detailed if your audience is different there. It might be an Instagram post, and then this is where you're going to then add your hashtags and things. And by doing this, it means when I come back to reusing my content in 3, 6, 9 months' time, I have all the information here. Also, if it's from a source, I will add a link here if it's an article. When I've created my blog post or my LinkedIn article, I add a link so that it's cyclical. When it comes back, I don't have to repost the article. I can put people back to that place in LinkedIn. I can send them to the same blog post. I have all that information here. So it's directing traffic to the same place. So that content works harder for you. And this post will all come from just helping people in a Facebook group. So not only do you then position yourself as, someone who knows what they're talking about in their field, but you could also create a lot of content from it. And, that group was 5.8K members. So over 5,000, nearly 6,000 members. We had a total of maybe 18 comments. It was enough that the post had a bit of traction and people were interested in answering that question. It was not so many that I could actually give lots of value with the questions that I was answering. And it's given me a potential of 18 posts. Now, some of those questions, you might say, actually, they're not relevant to my audience. Why in my wider audience, I'm not going to use them, and that's fine. But you might get some really good nuggets in there. And because you're using people's own words as your starting point, it just feels a bit more nuanced. It will connect better to other people too. And that is the system I use. Really simple. You just need to do it with a bit of organization behind it. It's not difficult to do. And then you can repeat that process. It might be that you ask a different question. Just make sure you're not doing it sort of week to week. This isn't something you should be doing weekly. You might be able to have a couple of weeks gap and try a different group. But just be cautious that it's a bit like seasoning more than anything else. This is not going to be a core part of what you do because you're in other people's groups and you do need to be respectful of that. But as I say, a really, really handy approach for you to use.